Hello everyone, Steven here from Adolescence, and welcome back to another fragrance review. This time we'll be taking a look at a fragrance by Gap, and the fragrance is called Gap Blue number 655. So here's the bottle. This fragrance I think was released in 1997, or at least that's when the women's fragrance was released, the women's counterpart. And even though the perfumer for this fragrance hasn't been made available to the general public, I do know that Gap works in collaboration with Inter Parfums Incorporated, so probably somebody who was working under that company during the time in which this fragrance was released. Pretty simple looking bottle, just a cubic bottle with a cylindrical cap. And just keep in mind that there is a women's counterpart, so that if you are looking to purchase this fragrance, make sure it says him or Louis written somewhere on the box. My fiance has a women's version and it looks very, very similar to the men's version. So just be mindful of that. Now, of course, Gap is an American clothing company. I believe they started off or originated in San Francisco, California. Since then, they've made their way all around the country, and there are a few in my area from which I actually purchased this bottle, or had this bottle purchased for me by my fiance. Now, when they first started off, I believe it was 1994, they came out with 4 fragrances, and if I remember correctly, they were something like Gap Grass, Heaven, Earth, and Water. Since then, they've released many fragrances. I think they're up to like 30 something now, and this is a fragrance that was released during the beginning, you know, when they were first starting off. So I'm going to let you know if I think this fragrance is worth your time. Next up, let's take a look at the presentation. So there's really nothing to the box. You have the name of the company, the name of the fragrance, concentration and size down here at the bottom. The serial number can be found at the very bottom here in a very dark black font. You have him, Louis, written on the side, some information at the back. That's pretty much it. Here is the bottle. Again, nothing to it. It's just a cubic bottle with a cylindrical cap. It doesn't click into place, but it is very snug around the atomizer, so it actually holds in place. You have a sticker with some information down here at the bottom. The distribution is amazing on the atomizer. It sprays out a great deal of juice, and I think the particles are distributed very evenly, and that's pretty much it for the presentation. Gap Blue number 655 has a very enticing note breakdown. When you look at the note breakdown, it has notes like mint, black pepper, some herbs, some spices. I think it's either basil or oregano, and you look at it and it looks very enticing. Unfortunately, I don't think that it's an accurate reflection of what it really smells like. When you spray this fragrance on for the first time, you will notice this very bright, effervescent, sparkling, citrusy opening. And there's very heavy neutrality in the opening. It opens up very neutral. I think it might be bergamot or a synthetic version of bergamot. It's probably a synthetic aroma chemical, either citrol or linalool, which gives it that very fresh, citrusy opening with a bit of a floral nuance to it as well. So the combination of that neutral citrus opening along with this floral mid-tone kind of gives it this fresh, clean, soapy quality, which I think is really attractive in this fragrance. And then in the base, as it starts to dry down a little bit, you do get this musky base that kind of comes out. Now, the musk in this fragrance, I am very happy to inform, is not animalic in any way. It comes across smelling rather clean and almost even a little bit powdery, if I will. Not too powdery, I don't mean to turn anybody off by saying that, but think of White Musk by The Body Shop. I think that the musk in this fragrance does have that very clean smell to it. So this fragrance, it smells good, despite the fact that it's not really an accurate reflection of the note breakdown. There is one thing that I do have to say though, and I say this in full disclosure, I really do have to retain my honesty. This is a very synthetic smelling fragrance. I think that this is a very uninspiring fragrance. I think there's no creativity behind this. It's not unique in any way. I just see a bunch of the most, generic aroma chemicals being thrown into the mix, and it is a rather simple composition, and I think that it comes across as almost a little bit conniving and deceptive that they would list all of these notes in the note breakdown, and you think to yourself, wow, this is going to be such a great fragrance, and then you smell citrus and musk with like a neutral, floral mid-tone. Again, it's very uninspiring. I think it's a nice smell. It's pleasant. My fiance bought it for me. She absolutely loves the way that it smells on me. And I think it's a very easygoing and casual fragrance, and very versatile too, because it smells fresh and clean. And there's never a time when you don't want to smell fresh and clean. But because of the lack of creativity and the uninspiring blend of notes, there are so many other fragrances that I would rather reach for. So, the fact that it doesn't really make you want to wear it, despite the fact that it smells clean, I think that compromises the wearability by quite a bit. So again, I think it's a nice smelling fragrance, it's fresh, it's clean, it's just not the most unique blend of notes. So last up we have the rating. Thanks. First up we have uniqueness and overall smell, and I ended up giving Gap Blue number 655 a 3 out of 10. I think the smell is nice, it's pleasant, and it's inoffensive, and it will leave you smelling clean and fresh. Unfortunately, I do think that it's a very uninspiring blend of notes, and I think the quality of these notes is also very poor. I think it lacks dimension, it lacks character, it lacks personality, it's not imaginative, it's uncreative, and it's not an inspiring blend of notes. So even though it smells fresh and clean, that's pretty much the only thing that it has going for it, and it leaves a lot to the imagination. So I ended up giving it a 3 out of 10. Next up we have longevity, and I gave it a 5 out of 10. Now this is an eau de toilette, so 4 to 6 hours is expected. I do get the average, which is about 5 hours, so I give it a 5 out of 10. Next up we have projection, and I gave it a 3 out of 10. Projection on this fragrance is also very poor. I realize that this is a fragrance comprised of very volatile ingredients and notes. So after they evaporate, it starts to sit very close to the skin, making it almost like a skin scent. And it does radiate within an arm's length, but very short of an arm's length. It only jumps off about a foot or less. So unfortunately the projection is very poor. Had to give it a 3 out of 10. Next up we have versatility, and I gave this a 7 out of 10. Versatility isn't bad on this fragrance because I don't think that there's any time that's a bad time to smell fresh or clean, and that's exactly what this fragrance does. But I think that the notes are evocative of warmer weather, so I would probably only wear this in the summer. In terms of social scenarios, I would wear this casually, and that's it. And dressed up, I would probably reach for something a little bit more refined, and it lacks the sweetness, which would make it a good contender to be a night out fragrance. I do think though, because it contains a great deal of citrus and musk, it could also be unisex, so if you're a woman and you're a fan of citrus and musk, I would recommend you check out this fragrance as well. Just keep in mind, it is a very synthetic and uninspiring blend of notes. Last up we have the presentation. Presentation is also rather poor. I gave it a 4 out of 10. There's really nothing to it. It's a cubic bottle with a cylindrical cap, and the box is just a very cheap cardboard. There's really nothing to this fragrance. Overall, I gave it a 4 out of 10. I think it's a good fragrance to wear when you're kind of just lounging around the house. If you want to smell fresh and clean, if you just got out of the shower and you want to augment that clean smell that you got from your bar of soap, maybe throw on a few sprays of this fragrance. You will need more than a few because it doesn't perform too well, and you're not going to get noticed right away wearing this fragrance. But it does smell fresh and it smells clean, and chances are, your significant other will think that you smell good, but it's, again, uninspiring. So again guys, thank you so much for watching. That was my review of Gap Blue number 655. If you own or have tried this fragrance, please let me know what you think by leaving a comment down below. Also, please don't forget to rate and subscribe for future videos and frequent giveaways. Again, thank you so much for watching. This has been Steven with another fragrance review from Radolescence. See you soon.